the Temple of Speed. There is no greater place for fast, high-octane action than this wonderful Italian track. 5.79 kilometers and 11 turns of beautiful racing action over the course of 1 hour's worth of racing here today. The fifth round of a championship or shall we say 2 championships, which are going in 2 diverging ways at this moment in time. Here on Forever Sim Racing, this is your Venomworks Sportscar Championship, and we are live and uninterrupted here on YouTube. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, here to a fantastic spectacle of sim racing here today. I am Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Caitlin Penny here in the commentary box. And Caitlin, it is worth talking about these 2 diverging championships. One has the top 2 split by just 2 points overall after 4 rounds. The other has the championship split by 52 points over the first 4 rounds.
Well, you've summed it up very well already, Jake. We have 2 very different championship scenarios at this point in time. Neil Andrews, of course, leading the LMP2 category, or the HPD category, by just 2 points over JPW Ringwood. That's been a battle that's been going back and forth and back all season long, and maybe a bit of back and forth to go along with that. And then in the GT category, PJ Clysons has double the points of Billy Fletcher, having won every single round with at least 1 bonus point as well. So PJ Clysons absolutely running away with it there, followed by Fletcher, Marshall, and then we have Morgan Thompson in 5th, just trying to see who's in 4th, but the name's quite small. And in the HPD category, the closest rivals of Andrews and Ringwood, admittedly a little way back, are Ben Johnson, Yellow Pieter Hoogland, and Josh Johnson in the other Venomworks silver car.
So there you can see how close the championships are from Caitlin Penny, describing how close everybody is at the moment. Qualifying has just started and is currently underway. There's 20 minutes overall in the session, but it's going to be split up into 2 parts. The first 8 minutes of qualifying are solely for these GTE vehicles that are out there on track, and then following on from that, there then is a 4-minute break. After that 4-minute break, there are 8 minutes on the clock for the LMP2 division to go out there and to attack this track. Now, something that is worth being pointed into the minds of drivers here today, Caitlin, is the fact that this track is very quick and it's all about that top end speed. These GTEs are going to be in a really strong battle here today to try and make sure that every single lap is going to work out in favour. The favourites are the cars that have more grunt in them moving forward, so maybe the BMWs might be better placed today to go out there and get the result they want.
Of course, it's a very, very different track to the Montreal circuit that we were at last time out. That place, of course, you only really have 2 spots where you are going flat out, where you're slipstreaming, and those are, of course, the back straight and the main straight, separated, of course, by that short chicane. Whereas here, almost the entire track is just a temple of speed, which is what they call it. It's very slipstreamy. You definitely benefit from being in the tow of another driver, and if you cast your mind back to the Formula 1 Grand Prix that happened here last year, you saw that in qualifying, slipstream made such a difference that some people were willing to sacrifice their whole sessions to risk it. But anyway, today I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of slipstreaming, a lot of overtaking, and a lot of side-by-side action, which could be interesting when we get to lapping traffic.
Exactly, the opening laps are going to be key around this place to establishing a tone and a rhythm for these drivers. They're on their opening laps right now. As we speak, Ewan Marshall will be the first driver to come over and set a representative flying lap in the Meraki racing car in the Ferrari on the brakes, looking to go through the Ascari chicane. Nice and neat then through these opening, or these later few corners, can overstep that curb, that final curb at Ascari. It's not going to be the same for the LMP2s here today, but Ewan Marshall now going to start making that charge to one of the most famous corners in all of racing, and that is the Parabolica corner here. This right-hander, 143 k's for putting the power back down and making that push and that approach over towards the start-finish line. What can car 18 do to set the pace? And the answer with that quick run to the start-finish line, a 45.4 becomes the benchmark. But watch out for PJ Clyson's 4 straight wins. Dion Phillips went quick, Keanu went quick, and Clyson's did not set a representative lap time. He had an off-track instant point somewhere around the track, Caitlin.
So Clyson's just showing us around this circuit now. You can see the first chicane, the Retafilo, as someone gets out of the way and goes straight down the escape road. You have plenty of bollards that you have to weave between if you go off there so as not to gain an advantage. There's Curva Grande. It's easy flat nowadays. It used to be a very difficult fast corner back before they had the chicane. Luckily those days are gone because that was very, very dangerous. We then have another chicane before heading up to the 2 Lesmu corners, and this can really make or break your lap. There's a real groove through here, and if you get out of the groove you end up losing a lot of time. I actually was just practicing on the Monza circuit, and I can guarantee they are always more difficult than you remember them, especially the first of the 2. Down the back straight now towards the Variante Ascari. And the third corner here is really the one to look out for. You have to set up for that because that is an accident black spot. The curbs there are pretty vicious. You can lose a lot of time on the following straight, especially in the HPD since they have such low ride height. PJ Clyson's getting it very much wrapped up now. And you now only have 1 corner left on the lap, but it is an entire sector on the track map because it's so long, and that is the very famous Curva de Parabolica. And once you exit that, you slingshot out and towards the line. Clyson's is going for a lap. He's not going to the pit, so we'll see what this one is.
Oh, it's second, 45.038, 9 thousandths only. The gap between himself and Keanu Bogognon there in the number 4 machine. Missed last week, did Keanu, due to not realising that the time zone changes happened, moving from what was Greenwich Mean Time to the British Summer Time. So that was where he fell back down in terms of the order. Billy Fletcher, also a 45 flat, a .085. So close, 2 minutes to go in the session for the GTEs. You can see drivers now going all the way over to that right-hand side to try and maximise laps as much as possible. Tom Metherell down in 7th position. His first start of the season. Dion Phillips just behind in 6th place. But a very, very compact field at the moment here, Caitlin. The top 7 split by 0.3 of a second.
Top 7, 0.3 of a second, as you say. The whole field, in fact, so far separated by 2.7 seconds, so still some ground to be gained from Jonas Gillis and the Lake. But it looks at the minute as if pole position may be between Bogognon, Clyson's and Fletcher. And I really think that at this point, because all of those drivers have set their first representative lap times, they put in what is effectively a banker lap. Now they have to start looking for the slipstream, as that's what's going to get them their fastest lap, if they can get it.
Track temperature today is 24 degrees. It is going to be a quick lap around this place today. Here comes Elmar Noteboom over the line. He sets his first time of the 12 that are going out in your LM, or in your GTE division, sorry, and a 46.5 is good enough for 11th place at the moment. 30 seconds left on the clock. Clyson's does not improve on the lap time that he wants, nor does Keanu Bogognon at that point. 2 cars are in the pits and will not improve. Oh, sorry, 1 is, and that is Russell Barnes down in 10th place. Van Delden over the line with 15 seconds left to go. Steve Hobbs, though, this is going to be tough. This is going to be interesting to see if he gets to the line quick enough, and I think he is gearing it to go down into the pit lane, and he does with 3 seconds left on the clock. The timer expires now, so this is their last lap. Dion Phillips will be first over it, 45.275, improves time but not position. Metherell there in 7th, Morgan Thompson up to 8th on a 45.7 of his own. Jonas Gillis then, currently last at the moment on a 47.7, is 1.2 seconds off of the pace at this moment in time, making the push over. He goes 47.1. That's a lot better. 0.6 of a second behind at this moment in time. Ewan Marshall then will be the next to try and improve on time. He's in 4th position. He needs just a 1/10.5 to get pole position at the moment, and is trying to really push that Ferrari to move on forward in the field. We'll see how close this is going to be for car 18, looking to improve from the second row of the GTE field through the final corner and looking to try and go across the line. Is there going to be a chance for improvement here for Ewan Marshall? It's straight into pit lane, so no chances there. Elmar Noteboom looking to improve on 11th position, though, over the line, and that's a 45.5. That's a lot better, up to the 4th row. 8th position for Elmar over that lap. Mathies van Delden will be the last driver looking to set a time then here in the qualifying for the GTEs. The 488 machine looking to try and improve in the Ferrari. The Nomad sim racing car looking to get better than 10th place. And the answer is that's a lot better. That's a 45.6. It's one more position up to 9th. So Caitlin, that's GTEs all in the books. Run us down how they will stack.
Pole position goes to Keanu Burgundian there, the driver who missed last time out and is very much back in the game, although by less than 100th of a second. PJ Clayson starts 2nd, so he's going to be tough to hold off at the start here. Billy Fletcher is in 3rd place. He was less than a 10th of a second off the leader. And then Ewan Marshall will be in 4th position, followed by Steve Hobbs there, Dion Phillips, Tom Metherell, Morgan Thompson, Elmar Noteboom, Mathies van Delden, and then 2 drivers who were a little bit off the pace, over a second off the leaders, but with another chance in the race, of course, and those are Russell Burns, P11, and Jonas Gillis, P12.
It's worth noting that Morgan Thompson's gone even quicker on a time, but outside of the time limit, so he will not start from 8th position. He will drop himself back to 10th by rule of what his lap was prior, so he will be losing 2 positions on the qualifying. Elmar Noteboom does need to come down in onto pit lane, as everyone actually is. And now look at these drivers now starting to line up here at the end, and it's a very long end to this pit entry at the moment. You can see the likes of Dan Merchant there down at the end. Tony Baird is best place. It's a funnel actually to get out of this one. Josh Johnson looking to sit and wait. There is a minute to go before laps start, and it is worth noting here, Caitlin, that if they're going to sit down like that, those tyres, they are going to get cold.
They are, but they have the whole of the outlap to warm them up, and of course they can do multiple laps at once. Although, yeah, definitely not ideal to be sitting at the end of the pits for so long. Tony Baird will be the first out. He was actually fastest in practice as well. We're looking for a 1:36.6 here to be the pole time, as that was the first in practice. And Baird will be the first out to show us how it's done. I know we have a green light there, but we have to wait just 20 more seconds until we get the official start of the LMP2 session, and then they will all head down to turn 1 on their outlaps.
Well, we'll see how these outlaps all go here as everyone sits and gets themselves ready. There are 2 drivers to keep an eye out on in terms of the championship. Car number 8, JPW Ringwood, and then on top of that, car 10, Neil M. Andrews, the championship leader by 2 single points at the moment, as these drivers will now get themselves out as their 8 minutes on the clock have started. They have now until the end of the session to go and get those times to work. So Tony Baird right now will lead the field, and then it's all about draft. Dan Merchant in there, Josh Johnson, Danny Henney, followed by Benjamin Johnson and JPW Ringwood. That's the train at the moment, and this is going to be interesting to see who gets themselves ready and going. The last driver out of the pits is Neil Andrews, so he's going to be looking to get those fine-tuned last-minute adjustments in to get everything all ready and sorted. And that's one of the things that you have. You got 8 minutes to try and adjust your set if you're in the 12 minutes, to adjust your set in the LMP2 division, Caitlin, because of the fact that the track is a lot colder than it was when they were in the official practice that they were running just an hour ago.
True, although of course you don't get that feedback until you actually go out onto the track, since there's no other way to test it without leaving the server and coming back in, which would be hugely impractical. But anyway, we're about to see Tony Baird heading onto his first flying lap, as he just has one corner to go. He will be the first LMP2 to do so. Dan Merchant will be the second. And as you say, Neil Andrews rounding out the field. Now, Andrews, of course, is the championship leader, but really not by much. JPW Ringwood right in his tail in terms of the championship. And and someone's had an off there at the final corner. That's an interesting time to go off. But anyway, on to the flying laps.
Well, the flying laps are going to be keen. Drivers may look to try and use that final section of road to try and move on forward. So we'll see how this one works. Tony Baird will be first driver to set a time. He will be the benchmark. And now drivers are trying to work out what do they have in terms of a run around this place. JPW Ringwood doesn't have a first lap because he's gone straight on at the Retafilo turn. It's numbers 1 and 2, that first chicane, or what we could say is the Variante Prima around this place. So not working there for JPW Ringwood. He's now going to have to try and find more laps in the paint, in the clutch. So this is going to be a long road here, especially when you don't get the first laps in these vehicles. Yes, the new tyre model version 7 means that the tyres get up quicker and quicker and quicker as the racing and the qualifying goes on. But the big downside is that the times at the moment, if you have to go around again and again, it puts more pressure on you, Caitlin.
The off at Parabolica was Josh Johnson, and while that didn't technically cost him a lap because he wasn't on one at the time, will certainly hold up the start of this lap. It'll give him, of course, less momentum going onto the lap, less speed, and as a result, a few extra tenths of a second on his time. But anyway, one more corner for Tony Baird, so we're about to see what the benchmark is. Remember, his practice time was a 1:36.6, but it may take a little while to get up to that speed, since, of course, drivers have to heat up their tyres and get back in the rhythm of it. And Baird across the line, it's invalidated, so he's had a little off somewhere. Daniel Merchant sets the benchmark. It's a 1:38.582, and that's over a second slower than he set in practice, and also over a second off his practice time. Ben Johnson, who is now third. Anthony Pisano goes to the top. So we've seen 4 lap times being set so far, all of them pretty slow compared to the practice laps. That's not really representative of the drivers at all. That's just where the track is at this point in time.
Exactly. Expect these times to get quicker and quicker. Adam Dodd up to second on a 38.5. Here's Neil Andrews over the line. 37 flat, 1.4 seconds clearing qualifying. He's got it up immediately to what is needed. All the main contenders have not found the times just yet. The Danny Henneys, the Tony Bairds, and the JPW Ringwoods yet to get the time that they want, and half of the time has already gone in this qualifying session. That's something to keep in mind as well here, Caitlin. The fact that this track is necessarily long in terms of the length, but not necessarily in terms of time. It's nearly a 6-kilometre circuit. It's 5.79 Ks, but you get around it in 1:37 at the moment. It seems McDougall not able to set a time either on that opening lap. So now it's all about these second laps. So we look at the likes of, say, Danny Henney, the likes of, say, Josh Johnson, JPW Ringwood, all looking to try and find improvements on times, and Ringwood's off again, so that's a second lap gone. This may be a long night for JPW here.
He's struggling, isn't he? Yeah, and that was at the very end of Ascari. It looks like he just missed his braking zone and went straight on. So he's going to have to go again. This lap will be easily invalidated. And he's one of 4 drivers still yet to set laps. Danny Henney goes to P2. He's actually less than a tenth of a second off Neil Andrews at this point in time, so he could be a contender today. Still yet to set laps, Matthew Carter, Phil McDougall, Tony Baird, and JPW Ringwood. Still yet to see exactly what they're capable of. Matthew Carter goes P8, that's last at this point in time. Adam Dodd now jumps back up to P3. He was P3 earlier, but that's a massive improvement of over a second, and he has split Johnson and Henney.
And Andrews goes even quicker, 1:36.6. That's a half a second buffer now that the CXR driver has at the moment, knows that every point becomes vital in this championship, and the best way to get points is to be at the front. You can't win the championship through pole positions, but what you can do is put yourself in a place where you are getting results time and time again, and that puts you the best possible position qualifying in pole position to get yourself a race victory. McDougall up to 4th place on a 37.359. He needs a solitary 1,000th here, Caitlin, to jump up to 3rd place.
Oh goodness, that was so close to Adam Dodd there. And the two CXR Project Black cars going very, very well at this point in time. Philip McDougall, of course, really struggled back at Sao Paulo, I seem to remember. But now he's very much up to speed here at Monza. Still yet to set laps, Tony Baird and JPW Ringwood. I'm watching Ringwood intently to make sure he actually manages to set a lap. He's only going to get one more attempt if he's got the fuel for it. So we'll see as he comes around the final corner exactly how valuable this is. Ooh.
Ben Johnson up to 3rd using the draft, and then Pisano goes to 2nd on a 37 flat. There's still time in the track. Josh Johnson jumps to 3rd then on a good time, and there's JPW Ringwood to 2nd on a 36.8. He's found it, and there's one more lap remaining in terms of the setting of the times. Dodd into the pits will not improve on any times, but remember, Andrews is further back in terms of this one. He'll have one lap, and he has a chance to recover. Lap is slower this time. It was a 37.8 by him at this time. So now we turn to Tony Baird, a driver who has the pace to win these races, but his lap ones have not been brilliant for Tony in the Nomad Sim racing car, looking to make a push to the line. Car number 22. Caitlin, this is going to be close, but the answer is another invalidated lap. He's got one more attempt.
Oh no, just one more attempt left to go, and this is where the pressure really starts to build. If he makes another mistake, he'll be starting right from the back of the HPD class. Here he goes through the chicane. We should also keep an eye, as he dips his wheels into the gravel, so this isn't going to be a good lap from Baird. I think his lap's still valid, so he should still complete it in order to jump ahead of some of the slower drivers. But yeah, this is going to be a long way off the pace for Tony Baird. Nightmare session for him. But let's keep an eye on some of the faster drivers setting laps. Big slide, well, not a slide, mainly a twitch from JPW Ringwood coming through the Variante Ascari there as we see the checkered flag. His lap could very much still be valid. Sorry, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic times coming in. Ben Johnson doesn't improve. Danny Henney does to a 36.9. That's 3rd position. Pisano can't find anything more. Stays in 4th. There's Ringwood coming over the line. 8.95. Not good enough to improve. So Neil Andrews relying on Tony Baird here to not improve on times. That's the only way that he can be knocked off the front. This is the last driver out there in session at the moment. Can Tony Baird put the lap together, and almost like that one lap qualifying, is there something there? Josh Johnson is up into 4th place ahead of Anthony Pisano by 100th of a second, but here comes Tony Baird rounding Parabolica. It didn't look good off at the start. It seems like his lap still counts at the moment, but across the line Tony's going to go on a 37.8, and that just shows you how bad of a lap it was off of the start. He is 9th position to start this one, so confirmation of result then for qualifying. Neil Andrews and JPW Ringwood, the title contenders, are on the front row of this grid. Danny Henney starts from 3rd with Josh Johnson in 4th position. Then it's Anthony Pisano next up with Benjamin Johnson in 6th. Adam Dodd starts this one in 7th with Phil McDougall in 8th. Following that will be Tony Baird and Daniel Merchant. And Matthew Carter, who's recently just become a father, finds himself in 11th position, and a lack of practice probably is the reason why he finds himself 2.7 seconds off of the next nearest car in this field. So that pretty much sums up the grid. But of course, this is a 1-hour race. One mandatory pit stop is required. All vehicles here in this series are fuel limited, Caitlin. So this pit lane is going to be very tough because the marker for the pit lane is a lot earlier than people expect it to be here on iRacing.
Good job. It's a long pit lane, but yeah, indeed, it tends to catch people out on the entry because you're coming out of such a fast corner. You're heading onto a straight, and drivers want to leave their braking as late as possible to head into the pits, and sometimes just sometimes that is too late. So you need to have practiced it, and you need to be confident but not overconfident in what you're doing. And once you've managed to do that, you should be okay. But yeah, it's a little bit of a deceptive pit entrance, and if you get it wrong, you could be in for a penalty.
Absolutely, you could. The drivers now all lining up behind the iRacing Porsche first safety car here today, ladies and gentlemen. It's got a big iRacing on the front of the bonnet, and then it says safety car underneath the Porsche badge, which indicates that it is most indeed a safety car. And these vehicles will be absolutely flying around this place here today at speeds, or average speeds, which are going to be knocking up towards 200 kilometers an hour. They're going to be absolutely motoring around this place today in the LMP2s. And of course, with such a big disparity in top speed between the LMP2s and the GTE field, we are expecting more lapping sequences here today over the course of an hour compared to other tracks that we have seen in the calendar where the times had been incredibly close. So that's just something to keep in mind. Something else to note will be all about trying to pass traffic into the chicanes. You have to do it on entry or exit. You get into the middle, and then that's where the mechanical grip comes in, and the GTEs are actually quicker through the chicanes through that point in time. So we'll see how all of those drivers are going to be negotiating this one today, but keep an eye out, though, on the championship perspectives. PJ Clysons has himself a full 52 points over Billy Fletcher, who sits in third position in his category right now. It could be absolutely anything here that could happen between those, because remember, if things stay like this and the same rate of scoring happens between those two drivers, then PJ Clysons could wrap up this championship with 4 races to spare in a 12-round championship, and that is not very often that you get to say that in terms of levels of dominance. He is 100% in this season in terms of race victories. He has yet to find himself in trouble. Long wait then in terms of splitting the fields for Keanu Begognon. They want to make sure they've got 2 separate categories moving forward, but Venomworks it is versus CXR at the front. Andrews and Ringwood, they've been fighting all season long. Andrews has been going from the back foot from round 1 of the championship at Daytona, where he found the safer barriers, and he has fought admirably back to get himself into the title picture. But they are 2 wins apiece, Andrews and Ringwood's 2 points apiece between them right now. Ringwood's poor round being Sebring, where he found himself spinning a lot like Felipe Massa at 2008 at Silverstone. But they make their way towards Parabolica. This is the start of racing, and of course, the music you've heard over this broadcast to start was done by Violet. You can catch her albums on Bandcamp and on Spotify, with so much brilliant action going to be going on in this race. Why wouldn't you want to check out all of the amazing partners we have at this Forever Sim Racing YouTube channel? But for the time being, Pace Car will dive itself down onto pit lane. The pace will be on Neil Andrews as they get themselves ready to go. Waiting, and he gets going now. Green flag drops, and we are underway here at the circuit of Monza. Here as they charge towards turn number 1. Here comes Danny Henney looking for the move to the outside, trying to get this one done. On the brakes they go. Are there going to be changes of positions here as they all funnel and bottleneck in? No dramas to speak of in the first pack, but Caitlin, look at this. Clyson's already going for it here in GTEs.
Clyson's to the inside of Begognon. This is for the lead, and as they break into turn 1, he's on the inside, which will quickly turn into the outside. Begognon hangs onto it, and Clyson's was almost in danger of being passed by Billy Fletcher from behind. Everyone through cleanly so far. That was actually a really, really good start from both packs. I'm impressed. But anyway, through they go, and still just about Begognon in the lead of the GTE class, but Clyson's all over the back of him as they head up to the second chicane.
Yes, and it's the De La Roche here now. They start hitting.
Andrews is off. Andrews off from the lead.
Wow, big incident then, and that is Andrews there. Matthew Carter's also gone around, so Neil Andrews, the mistake then through the Lesmo corners, and it was at the first Lesmo, all on his own, cold tyres, and he gets himself into the gravel, has done well to keep it pointing in a straight line, and that just is testament to the car control he has. And now in terms of position, another car's gone off, and that's Danny Henney. That's Adam Dodd, sorry. Danny Henney's teammate at Ascari was side by side actually there with with Andrews there going into that section. Just got it all shades of wrong and ultimately had to try and keep going. Now it's all about recovery drives because here comes Tony Baird going around the outside of McDougall here at Parabolica, and all of a sudden this field's kicked off. Ringwood leads, it's Henney in second, and Josh Johnson now trying to hold on to third because here comes Pisano.
Here comes Pisano, indeed. He's on Josh Johnson, and Josh Johnson just appearing suddenly for me. He's on the outside, and Pisano outbrakes it, and straight on goes JPW Ringwood from the lead of the race. So it's a time for leaders to go off, it seems, and Danny Henney leads the race.
Danny Henney leads, and 3 drivers have all gone off. Tony Baird went off. Benjamin Johnson serving the slow-down penalty. Josh Johnson serving the slow-down penalty. So it's all happened here at the moment in the early stages. So Henney leads. Ringwood now in second. 1 driver in for damage. That's Jonas Gillis in the GTE pack. But at the moment here, GTEs have been the ones who have been best behaved, and Clysons now leads the field here in your GTE category. He got it done at turn number 1. Side by side they were, Ferrari versus Porsche, and it was the German outfit of Porsche who managed to get themselves past the Tifosi-loved fans, Ferrari.
Begonjan had a little lock up there, but did a good job to keep it on the road and not pick up a slowdown penalty, but hopefully he hasn't picked up too much of a flat spot from that. But anyway, he is now trying to chase down PJ Clysons again. He'll have the slipstream, but yeah, he'll definitely be in the back seat for this one. There's now a big gap for the lead of LMP2 as Danny Henney's starting to get away. Ringwood, of course, dropped back due to that mistake, and he is now well and truly under attack from Anthony Pisano. Slipstream is very, very effective in these HBD LMP2s, and Pisano might have a go at second here. Actually, I'm not sure if he's going to be close enough, but he's going to get closer towards turn 1.
He's going to try anyway here. You can see that gap just closing down visibly as they pass the old banking on the brakes into the Rettifilo. Here, the opening corner, and a gap 2.6 seconds at the front of the field. Ringwood's got to work hard because on the back of the train is Neil Andrews, and that's always going to be a worry. Other battles, Dan Merchant and Tony Baird at it at the moment for 6th and 7th. That's close here at the moment. Side by side, though, because this is Dion Phillips right now.
Gone off.
Go past Metheril, and I believe Begognon has gone off here, and a lot's happened actually in the background, and this is all going through the Ascari chicane. Begognon spun it.
He lost it all by himself and so nearly got hit from behind, but luckily the Porsche of Dion Phillips saw it all happening, and Phillips then came under attack from Fletcher and Metheril, and both of them got through. Phillips now coming back at Metheril. They're side by side in the 2 similarly liveried Porsches. Metheril will be the car on the inside, Phillips will be the car on the outside, and I think Metheril will have the line through there, but yeah, that was unlucky for Phillips. He just got caught out by the spinning car ahead of him of Begonjan. Did well to avoid him, but lost time as a result. Begonjan lost even more time.
Well, this is the issue right now. Clysons leads. Billy Fletcher, main rival in the championship, second in the Ford. And the Ford is probably at its biggest disadvantage at this circuit, Caitlin, mainly due to the fact it's down 15 Ks on the straight. So that's going to be a tall order to try and claw it all back in. We'll try and do so in the corners, but here will come Neil Andrews now, trying to look at getting back onto the podium. This is going to be a key battleground that we're going to see from these drivers today. Lifts out of it, saves fuel, looking to play the strategy game, but keep an eye on this. 9/10 lopped off of the race lead by Ringwood, dragging the pack back to Danny Henney, who I think by his own admission knows that he pushes too hard in practice, dialing it back down 0.5% for these races, and all of a sudden the pace has just completely gone for the 33.
1.7 seconds the gap now, so it's still very much on. These are the early stages of the race, and behind him he has a 3-way scrap for second between Ringwood, Pisano and Andrews, who were all separated by less than a second as they crossed the line that last time around. So it's very, very close as they go around the Lesmers again. And this appears to be where Ringwood's strong, because now I believe that Henney's within a second of them. He certainly looks to be. And it'll be Slipstream Central as we go... Oh.
And his contact, it's Phillips and Marshall, both into the tyres in the Armco as they go on through out of the Rettifilo, and both of them now drop miles down the order. Marshall who had lost his battle for second position late on at Montreal. And again, he runs into dramas, but this time on lap 4 of the event, they almost got conjoined together as they almost merged into each other with a bit of netcode. Didn't help at all, but Dion Phillips able to get off going quicker, and he'll stay next to Russell Barnes, at this moment in time. And that is pretty much everybody up 2 positions. Now into 4th place overall is Steve Hobbs, and Elmar Noteboom up to 5th.
That's unlucky for the 2 of them. I believe that netcode was the problem there. I don't think it was either of their fault. But anyway, indeed, we've had Phillips and Barnes both coming through, and
here comes Pisano trying to go around the outside here at turn 1, trying to get the move done here on JPW Ringwood, just not able to find it. And this is the case here, Caitlin, for Anthony Pisano of Schrodinger's overtake. He must attack and defend at the same time.
Yeah, and the gap for the lead there, 1.4 seconds, so it was a little bit more than I thought, but it had come down, and it may well end up that, it may well happen that soon we'll have 2 Schrodinger's overtake drivers in Ringwood and Pisano, and that's a very difficult situation because no one really knows whether they should risk going for a move or not. And sometimes you see one driver outraking someone and going straight into the car in the front. But anyway, that does tend to happen at Monza. Luckily, everyone's behaving themselves so far, and Noteboom's making a move now on Steve Hobbs.
Trying to anyway. Can he pick up the run off of the exit? Answer is negative, but has the whole Curva Grande corner coming up, which is going to help that Porsche try and negotiate a way around the Ferrari. The fiercely forward team against CXR. They're just waiting in the background. It is Keanu Begognon trying to get back into this one. Noteboom moves to the inside here at the Della Roggia. On the brakes they go, and in these cool evening conditions, it's going to only get tougher and tougher as this goes on. So Noteboom goes through. Now here comes Keanu down to the inside of the first Lesmo corner, which is, of course, always going to favour the car on the inside. Now they're side by side for the second Lesmo, and this is going to be a lot tougher here for Keanu to make this move. Has he got the nose on the inside? Yes, but he's got no traction.
Brave to keep it there, but he got over the curb a bit, and always the car on the outside there was going to get more traction. But that was brave from Keanu to keep it there for so long. And now he's in the slipstream again, won't get close enough into the Ascari. You don't tend to here because it's such a fast sequence of corners, but that's a much better line through Ascari that Keanu's got there. And surely he's going to get him on the exit now. Alongside he goes, and he is going to slipstream straight past Elmer Noteboom, but if Noteboom can keep it on the inside, he may well have a fight back into Parabolica. I think he's too far back now. So that is that's done from Keanu Begognon there. But I was interested by Elmer Noteboom. You mentioned his Porsche having quite good straight line speed. But talking of Porsche, hasn't he had a change of car?
Yes, and they are allowed 1 change of car for the course of the season, so that's going to be something. Hobbs may just come back here at Keanu Begognon, trying to make this move back in, but Keanu defends, uses his 1 line change to go to the inside, and that is very late on the brakes there from Steve Hobbs. Can he hold it there on the inside? It's going to be close between those two, but ultimately Keanu's going to get the drive off the exit here, and Hobbs is going to have to stay behind for the time being. At the moment, side by side, though, Ringwood and Pisano heading up to Parabolica at this point in time. The lapping has started for Danny Henney at the front of the field, but now all of a sudden, the train behind starts to battle itself, and Pisano's going to get a fantastic run. Look at how aggressive here the defence is from Ringwood. He's over the white lines trying to defend this one, and you can see Pisano getting a great run. Ringwood now going to have to try and defend here on the brakes into the opening couple of corners, and he's gone very deep in. Has he gone too far deep? He's up over the anti-cuts. Here comes Andrews. He's going to pick up 1. Oh, he's going to pick up 2 as Ringwood slides.
And Pisano looks like he's going to go through as well. I don't think Ringwood got a slowdown from that, but yeah, actually Pisano's going to need him to have a slowdown if he's going to get through here. Actually, maybe not, because he's still with him as they head towards the braking zone here. He's still got an overlap. And that looks very Sebastian Vettel-ish, but he's managed to keep it under control there. But yeah, leaning on each other through the opening couple of corners, and this is really helping Danny Henney, because the more they battle, the more they hold each other up. The longer he has to. Oh, and a spin from Ringwood, and they both go off. They're both in the gravel.
Unbelievable, and into the tyres hard goes JPW Ringwood. He's got to be careful about the rejoin here. Baird's going to go through, and there you can see Dan Merchant there wasn't sure what to make of it as they go through. That was a big, big spin, and we can catch a replay of that one then, ladies and gentlemen. A big accident going through that section. JPW Ringwood, no help from anybody else. He caught the grass on entry, and that was the big issue. Pisano ultimately finding himself in a position where he tried to run around the outside and ultimately had nowhere to go as he chased down a corridor. Dion Phillips is now out of the race as well in a separate incident, but JPW Ringwood now has thrown big points away in comparison to Neil Andrews.
See, when you brake with one wheel on the grass and one wheel on the tarmac, there's a huge disparity in terms of the grip levels. And the right-hand side of the car wants to slow down much, much faster than the left-hand side does, and that's not a good thing. But anyway, you and Marshall now going to the inside of Russell Barnes, a little bit too far back, trying to like scare him into a mistake through that chicane as they both hop over the curb. Barnes touches the gravel a little bit, and that is over 7th and 8th place in the GTE class. Ewan Marshall trying to recover. He's got a very wonky rear wing, but it doesn't appear to be holding him up too much. That's after that netcode contact we saw with someone else earlier on. But anyway, he's still in the race and still pushing hard.
Keep an eye out on the battle going on in for your GTE race lead, ladies and gentlemen. PJ Clysons and Billy Fletcher are split by just 2.3 seconds out on the road, and they are matching lap times together. So this is all about pressure here, Fletcher versus Clysons, trying to keep Clysons honest over the course of this race. Clysons has had 4 runaway victories over this one, a 45.6 that last time by, a 45.3 from Billy Fletcher closes down 0.3 of a second, the gap down to 2.2 seconds overall now in this one. So PJ Clysons right now not getting everything his own way, and we know as well that Billy Fletcher loves to pit early.
He does, and of course his reasoning behind that is that getting on the
Danny Henny's
Oh, sorry?
Danny Henny's lost the race lead here, and that would be for a mistake through the Della Roggia as he got a slide on through turn number 4 and actually hit hard into the tyres. Andrews does well, skates into the race lead. So Danny Henny all of a sudden back into second position as we did see a spin there in your GTE field. Was it that we were seeing there, Caitlin?
Yeah, Tom Metherell from 3rd in the GTE field has now dropped to about 6th. And But Danny Henny there, that's got to hurt. That's the first time he's led a race this season and lost it on his own. We've seen it's an easy mistake to make when you've got curbs involved and you've got white lines. It's difficult to keep control of the car, but anyway, he loses the race lead. Steve Hobbs now under attack from Metherell. So Metherell, after his spin earlier this lap, trying to come back through the field, goes up the inside, picks one off already. That's a nice out-braking maneuver. And that would have been for 5th in class, I think.
Yes, that certainly would have been at the moment. Tony Baird up into 5th, Adam Dodd 4th, and of course, backwards in the categories we look, the likes of one Mr. Tom Metherell past Steve Hobbs we have just seen. That now means that Elmar Noteboom puts himself onto the podium at this point in time in the number 13 CXR car, with Keanu just behind on that recovery, looking to try and put himself back into position. Keanu, remember, who was leading this race on the opening lap, Caitlin, is now all of a sudden finding himself 13 seconds off of the race leader, PJ Clysons, in category. So this is a long road back, but he's now going to need to try and get every position possible the longer that the racing goes on. And, of course, it is worth remembering that these drivers here in the LMP2s will be wanting to come by pretty soon.
Next up, of course, Elmar Noteboom for 3rd place in the GTE category. Begonjon on his tail. The Porsche is going to be a difficult one to pass here at Monza because it is famously renowned for its straight line speed and its mid-range acceleration. And when you get it up to 4th or 5th gear, it really starts to fly, more so than the Ferrari. The Ferrari, not exactly slow, but more suited to corners and all-round ability and stability. But anyway, over the curbs he goes. That was a little bit better there than Noteboom's line. He's in the slipstream. As they crossed the start-finish line last time around, they were separated by just 9 tenths per second. I think it'll be about 6 or 7 tenths per second as they cross the start-finish line this time around. So he is closing him in. Also, the leaders closing in a little bit still. Clysons and Fletcher, 2 seconds between the two of them. Although that not in immediate danger, I'd say. Although someone who is in immediate danger is Danny Henny, because he is slowing. Well, he's he's a lot slower through that chicane than Phil McDougall. He's got a GTE up in front, and McDougall here might be about to make it a CXR Black 1-2 here. Round the outside he goes.
He's going to try it. It's going to be a tough one, but Henny just moves over into his line slightly there, and a little wiggle from McDougall. He wasn't quite confident, but he'll have the run. Coming out of Parabolica here towards turn number 1. The traffic did not help Danny Henny at all, and suddenly he loses a second and a half to Neil Andrews, and Phil McDougall absolutely breezes on by as the opening quarter of this race is already being classified as complete as they go into the right-left chicane once again, and Danny Henny finds himself now backwards into 3rd place overall here at the moment. Here's some side-by-side as well as Dan Merchant tries to keep behind Josh Johnson, but having absolutely none of it around the outside on the brakes, a lot more confident. That was easy pickings there for Ben Johnson as Josh Johnson through on JPW Ringwood, who's lapping 141s at the moment with damage to the rear of his vehicle, and especially the front right of that Venomworks car. That front right looks absolutely horrible right now here, Caitlin.
Which car is this, sorry?
JPW Ringwood.
Oh, yeah, it does, and that's due to the incident earlier. Of course, as he spun around, he got a little bit of a tap. Anyway, Keanu Begonja now right on the back of Elmar Noteboom, talking of little taps. That was almost one there. I was watching Henny and McDougall earlier in the lap. McDougall, of course, got past Henny, but then dipped well into the gravel, and almost got passed again by Henny, although I think he's starting to get away now. They've got traffic coming up, though. Actually, a lot of traffic, 3 or 4 GTE cars there, so this could be a close one. We've got 2 or 3 battles to watch in this one now.
Absolutely, we do. Keanu trying to get past Elmar Noteboom as Neil Andrews, the race leader, will breeze on by and give a little bit of draft going over to Elmar at this point. You can see a deliberate move onto the racing line after going past Elmar to try and give him as much help as possible. But here will come Keanu trying to get this move done for 3rd position in category. He'll have to go the long way round to get this one done on Noteboom, but on the brakes he goes. Can he get it slowed up? Absolutely he can, and now the battles start to converge right now because you've got the likes of McDougall and Henny now trying to find a way by, and there goes McDougall straight on by, and Danny Henny's going to have to really get up through the higher reaches of the engine notes to try and get himself going in the high RPM to move on a way by, and they can see the difference in a top line, in a straight line, so to speak, Caitlin. It's 20 kilometers an hour difference.
20 kilometers per hour makes a lot of difference on a race circuit like this, but anyway, through they've both gone now, so Henny and McDougall have cleared the initial part of traffic. They've got a little, oh wait, that's not traffic, that's Andrews up ahead. They're actually getting, oh no, they're still dropping back from him, sorry, I thought they were getting a bit closer, but anyway, McDougall and Henny were separated by 0.4 of a second across the start-finish line there, and that would really have made McDougall's heart rate rise. He had to find his way through the traffic first. Before Henny did, he had the harder task there, but the GTs stayed predictable, just as they're supposed to do. Sometimes you'll see GTs pulling straight back across as soon as the car's gone through, and making contact with the second faster car in the line. Although the GTs here are experienced, they know what they're doing, and this has been a very clean race so far. Hopefully I'm not getting anything.
Well, we've seen some brilliant battles going on, and here's Tony Baird going around the outside of Keanu. Now, this is the driver to keep in mind at the moment. Tony Baird is absolutely motoring around this place. His last lap was a 37 flat, but that's a 40.3 due to an acre and having to get through, a boatload of traffic is the right way to describe what he had to negotiate through. So that was always going to make life incredibly difficult by the way that the racing was run for him at that point in time. But now with clean air to work with, and he knows he's 3.2 seconds back of Adam Dodd, he can now put his head down and really work because he's got the pace to go and chase, because at the moment Andrews and McDougall a team 1-2, Henny and Dodd a team 3-4, Nomad and the Nomad man Tony Baird, he wants to spoil the party.
He does. Tony Baird, little way off Adam Dodd at the minute, 3 seconds in it. And actually he's running in quite a lot of clean air at the minute, although strategy still to come. Everyone must make a pit stop, and as well as that we have traffic and other aspects of unpredictability yet to make this race more exciting. Another thing I've noticed, the sun's looking quite low. Are we expecting it to take into night here?
It looks like it may do at this point. Remember, in sim time is just gone over 8:30 in the evening. So this race is going to finish sometime around 9:10. So we may see the lights come on here in terms of a showdown finish. The spotlights, some would say, in terms of the way that this race is going to end up on the calendar. And you've also got to remember here that it's going to be a very similar challenge, what they're going to find in 4 weeks' time when they go to the halfway round of the championship, round 6, Caitlin, because they're heading to the most famous circuit of endurance racing, and that's Le Mans.
Indeed it is, the Le Mans 24-hour layout. Not a 24-hour race, but still, it's a very slipstreamy one, just as Elmar Noteboom now on Netherall goes to the inside. This is the 4th in class, and Netherall turns in, and Noteboom wisely backs out.
Slow. Dan Merchant's slow, and he's gone straight on at turn 1. He's made a mistake. He was chasing down Ben Johnson and has just completely gone straight on. Takes a couple of lives with the cones, so to speak, as he goes through. Hashtag Cone Lives Matter. But ultimately falls back into line for the position that he was in. So that'll be a little concerning, that missed entry. And it's also worth noting here, incident points, Caitlin. Get a drive-through penalty for 20 instant points, then for every 10 after, you get another drive-through penalty. So it's ultimately the case where drivers, they can't afford to go straight on too many times.
I actually don't see who's got how many instant points here, but anyway. Yeah, indeed, you can't afford to make too many mistakes like that. You get slowdowns from them, and you may also get a drive-through if you do it too often or too badly. But anyway, another thing I was noticing there, Andrews and McDougall, they got about a second closer on the last lap. Let's see what the gap is this time around. That may have been because of traffic. They were actually lapping the GTE leaders last time around. And it's got closer again, 1.2 seconds. So that is that's pretty close there. And I'm not sure what the team orders are between the two, if there are indeed team orders. But let's remember, actually, Phil McDougall, he started from 9th, or was it 8th on the grid? It was around about there. And, oh yeah, it was 8th on the grid. So that's a pretty good ascent up the order from Phil McDougall. And if he's able to jump ahead of his teammate, that would really be the cherry on top of the cake.
You would certainly say so right now. McDougall 1.2 seconds behind his teammate, and it's almost a mirror image for 3rd and 4th. Danny Henney, the gap 1.1 between himself and Adam Dodd at the moment. So it is looking close here. Out on track as drivers look to try and work out where they are going to be best placed on the strategy calls here for this one. Remember, they're 22 minutes here through this race right now. Anything can happen here at this point, as some headlights are starting to come on here for these drivers, as the glares are going to be going on through. So these drivers are having to deal with changing conditions of the iRacing dynamic weather, which came into effect a year and a half ago. This is going to be a tough, tall order for drivers here as they adapt from daylight to nighttime conditions. Out to the pits comes Ewan Marshall. He's pitted at the earliest available opportunity, and Tony Baird is out.
That's a lot of damage to the rear end of Tony Baird's car. He's had a little incident there, and that was at the first of the two, or the second of the two Les Moves he got in the gravel. Round he went and into the barrier, and that is that's a shunt, and that is why he's now sitting in the pit lane with maybe work being done to his car. I'm not sure if he got a tow or not, but anyway, he's going to be dropping all the way to the back of the LMP2 field. Ewan Marshall indeed did come into the pits early, possibly to repair some of the damage he got earlier on. Did they get a fast repair?
They get one.
They get one. Okay, so he would have used his fast repair there, and he would also have taken new tyres and some fuel. But anyway, we're still expecting all of the other drivers to make pit stops. The lead is now down to less than... Oh, and well, what's happened there? McDougall's disappeared.
Well, he's still there. It's less than a second at the moment, Caitlin. Don't you worry about that for the moment, but...
sorry for panicking, people. I clicked on the qualifying tab. My apologies.
All good. But you gotta see at this point in time just how important it is to keep finishing races and not make these mistakes, because once again for Tony Baird, he had the pace to actually chase down the race leaders in the battle for 3rd and 4th here, Caitlin. The big difference was the fact that he's pushed too hard and the mistakes happened. It's the 5th time in 5 races that he's found himself pretty much down the order from where he needs to be. Look at Adam Dodd and Danny Henney right now, nose to tail, going on for 3rd position overall as they head through the left-hander out of Ascari and on the run to Parabolica. Henney's going to be under pressure from his own teammate.
Here he goes, Adam Dodd now with the slipstream. And are they going to do a tactical swap of positions? What I'd be saying if I was Danny Henny here, since neither of them are really fighting for the championship, is if you can get alongside me, I'll let you go. I won't fight
All
it.
you pick.
And actually, he's into the pits now. So in comes Henny, and that is a good way of getting him out of his teammate's face, giving his teammates some clean air, and giving himself some fresh tires.
Well, it's going to be all about now positioning right here. So it's all about this. Another driver who's down on the lane who's had an accident is Steve Hobbs. He is out of the race down on the lane with big heavy damage, and that has happened at Parabolica. So he was all on his own going through. On the brakes he went, and that looks like a straight fail of the wheel as he tried to hit the brakes, or a screen didn't work because he's gone straight into the tyres and has continued to stay straight as he has looked and gone straight back across the circuit onto the racing line. Very fortunately, he hasn't hit anyone, uses his fast back, gets back going again, but it was an awful bit of incident as he went on through.
Well, he's back in the race, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah, that looked like a technical issue if ever I saw one. But anyway, back in the race at least. Noteboom and Methril still close for P4, much closer than I thought they'd be after all this time. Noteboom's been really following Methril around and sticking with him as they attempt to catch Keanu Begonjon. He's only a little way up the road. I'm not sure if they're catching him or not. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. And I'm expecting. Oh no, sorry. Thought Andrews was going to head to the pits. Then he didn't. He stayed out. He was just pulling across because that's the optimal line through that. But still, actually, McDougall lost about 1.5 seconds on that lap, so I'm not sure if he caught traffic or something. Oh yes, he did. He caught Marshall coming out of the penultimate corner there. Marshall had to get out of the way, and McDougall had to get out of the throttle. So that's why I was attracted to the leaders all of a sudden. It's because McDougall was being held up a bit.
A lot of drivers have come in and made their stops early at the moment. So you got Ben Johnson, Anthony Pisano, Josh Johnson and JPW Ringwood. They've all come in and made stops. They are a long way back. Matthew Carter's down the order as well at this point in time. He's running 1 minute 31 off of the race lead, almost about to be lapped by Neil Andrews if he has not already. As you can see, they are in the same piece of real estate at this moment in time. Keep an eye out though on battles going on. 4th and 5th still happening in your GTE category at the moment, although it is really calmed down as of late, and Josh Johnson's off into the tyres there at Parabolica, all on his own. Hit the grass under braking, tried to catch it, and he has nosed it once and twice into the Armco on the left-hand side of the circuit, able to keep the car moving, but Josh Johnson now has to come in after that one.
Luckily, he hit the Armco before the tyre wall, which slowed him down a bit, and that, of course, deals a lot less damage because you enter at a much nicer angle. But still, it won't have done him any good, and he is now making a stop, undoubtedly using his fast repair. And as he heads back onto the track, he'll be a long way down. Tony Baird, I don't think will be returning to the race. He's been sitting in the pits for a very, very long time. Matthew Carter into the pits as well, so he's going to be behind Johnson, preventing him from dropping to last place. So those are the cars in the pit lane this time around.
We are at the halfway stage here in this race, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot has happened, as it traditionally does here in the Venomworks Sports Car Championship. You can never quite predict how the field is going to end up, and well, here's one of the biggest things at the moment in terms of the top 4 here. I know we're in a pit cycle overall, but as things stand, the drivers who started 8th, 7th and 10th are 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Still yet to see Andrews or McDougall pit. Both of these CKL black cars staying out for the time being. A lot of the other LMP2 HPDs also yet to stop, but not that much time left. Actually, we're not even halfway through yet. We're about halfway through now. So expecting them to come in for the in the next couple of laps. Although there is definitely an advantage to staying out as long as you can, if you can. Whoops.
Hobbs up and over, rolling down the front stretch as drivers avoid to the right-hand side. And that looks like another case of what's happened. Just going straight there. He went through in the car, just lisked left, and then into the grass, try and stop the car, and he has flipped it like Marcus Ericsson in the Alfa Romeo, and ultimately Hobbs' race is done in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, he needs to retire from the race. He's having so many technical issues there. That's not his fault at all. That's probably his wheel, or maybe some software glitches or whatever, as Pisano now.
Had a big moment actually coming through the second Lesmo there, Caitlin. Caught the inside curb, got up on two wheels, slid it through the second half, and was able to keep it going in a straight line, running all on his own at the moment. And that's one of the most frustrating things. On your own, no cars to see around.
Save though, smooth catch. Locked up the wheels and made the car go straight. That's exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation. Otherwise it can snap around and then you can really be out of control as physics decides what to do with itself. And Pisano there didn't even lose a place. He could have lost a lot more from it, but he's going to have lost probably about 3 or 4 seconds through all of that. But yeah, as I was saying, Steve Hobbs, it wasn't his fault that he retired at all. It was some kind of technical issue, and that's really, really bad luck for him. He becomes another retirement in this race, joining Tony Baird, Dion Phillips, and Matish Van Delden, who have all had incidents of their own.
Josh Johnson's going to join that group as well, as he's been down on the lane for a very long time, having used his fast repair. He'll try and get out some points, but that's about it at this moment in time. So, question becomes, when do drivers like Neil Andrews, Phil McDougall dive in? McDougall comes in now to make his stop in the LMP2 division. So that's going to be crucial in terms of that battle. In terms of other battles out on track, the GTE field, the top 5, all yet to come down in. They're going to look to try and go as long as they can on their strategy and really come in at the latest point in time. McDougall looks for his box. He's found it. It's the 8th to last one here as he looks to get himself up on the Jackson going. Where is Danny Henney, for example? He's heading himself through Ascari right now, so watch out for the 33. Where will he come out in comparison to 883 here, Caitlin?
Also, sorry for saying CKR, it's actually CXR. I'm sure I got that right earlier on, but anyway, McDougall back out onto the track now. We're going to see where he comes out in relation to some of his rivals. As he puts the power down now, the next car to come through will be it'll be Matthew Carter, so that's a lap down, and he'll be well clear of that. So McDougall there into turn 1. And now we just have to wait to see where his rivals come in, such as Dodd and Andrews.
That's a big, big margin there for Phil McDougall, who's done brilliantly over the course of that stint to get the margin over Danny Henney, who was 4 seconds back before coming in. That gap looks a lot larger than 4 seconds now. It looks more like 7 or 8 with the traffic that had been going around. So Dodd yet to come in, Andrews yet to come in, as well as Dan Merchant out on track. We're hitting the limits here for the lane. Expect Andrews now to come down into the lane to cover off his teammate, and he does exactly that. Hits the marker, 63 kilometers now. He'll be down the lane, followed immediately in by Adam Dodd at this moment in time. And in terms of the other battles going on, Clyson's out there now, has a big margin here over one Mr. Billy Fletcher. He has himself maybe the straight between Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. That would be about 4 seconds out on the road that he has of margin to work with here today, and this is going to be a very, very interesting battle that will continue to go on longer that this goes on. So we'll see where McDougall's going to come out in comparison. He's going to come through Parabolica right about now, Caitlin, and if he's got the tyres up to speed well, here comes Neil Andrews out of the pits now. So this is going to have to be a big blast down this straight coming along for him. Through's going to go 1U and Marshall, but they're going through right now as Phil McDougall. The gap seemingly looks about the same as it was.
So through goes Marshall, or Andrews, sorry, he leads the race. McDougall is in 2nd place, and we'll see what the gap is at the end of this lap. And at 3rd, Danny Henney, and I think Henney stopped too.
Dodd's
so
had a long one.
Oh.
Look at this, it's a long stop for Adam Dodd, and he's still waiting, There goes Dan Merchant going straight through. This is a painful stop for Adam Dodd, who was up there looking at 3rd position. He finally gets going. I wonder if he got caught speeding on the gun coming down onto the lane. So that might be the place where it all went wrong. And when he went to hit his mark, he was already at 80 k's for a very long time as he looked and went past the line. That is 15 seconds he has been held, stop and hold, and look how much that's cost him. He's now behind JPW Ringwood, so that puts him as the last driver still running here in your LMP2 category, barring Matthew Carter, so that puts him back down into 8th place overall. That's painful.
We were talking about that happening, weren't we? We were talking about what a difficult pit entry this can be at times. It's not difficult in terms of, you know, the twisty corners and chicanes like some tracks have. I'm thinking of Brands Hatch and other circuits like that. But it is difficult in terms of just how fast you go into it and how slow the speed limiter is in comparison. But anyway, Dodd dropping right the way back there to what we can only assume was his own mistake. But anyway. The gap between the leaders, 2.2 seconds, that's pretty much exactly what it was before, so those two stayed very, very similar. Danny Henney is now 10 seconds back, and I think we're still waiting for our GTE leaders to pit.
We absolutely are at the moment, and in terms of now who's put themselves up into 4th position here in category, that will now be Ben Johnson there in 4th. Arno will move up to 5th. That's a close scrap at the moment here between those two. 1.3 seconds splitting right now. Merchant falls into 6th place, and it will now be Ringwood, who is 7th position in this race and really needs to mitigate some points and needs some luck a little bit later down in the championship. Absolutely top 3 yet to come down in, make those stops, but it is Clyson's versus Fletcher, and it can all fall apart very quickly. We've not seen it happen to PJ Clyson's in a race. He has been Mr. Immaculate so far this season, but Billy Fletcher is still within a range of 5 seconds where you still have to actually push hard.
So the battle between Henney and Johnson, not Johnson, sorry. The battle between Henney and... Actually, there's no battle, so has something happened there? Because I'm sure Henney was with someone earlier. But, sorry, I was just getting distracted by Henney trying to pass PJ Clyson's there on the exit of the Ascari. I was sure Henney had someone on his tail. Never mind.
Henney earlier on did have Adam Dodd chasing down, but the pit stop has paid big dividends to that. But Danny Henney there in 3rd position. Look at the gap for the race lead, though. Under 2 seconds once again. McDougall is trying to prove he is not a number 2 driver by any means. Neil Andrews, one of the best in the business in an LMP2. You will struggle to find drivers who are quicker than him in this vehicle. But Phil McDougall right now closing his teammate down at 3/10 a lap with 1 lap older tyres.
I'd expect he's just there to help Andrews, really. I expect he's probably been told, you know...
We don't know about team orders,
the championship, basically. Yeah, I don't think there would be explicit team orders. I don't think they tell McDougall to maybe move the side if he was ahead or whatever, but I don't think McDougall's going to be attacking too hard here. You know, especially since it's so close in the championship. Andrews just 2 points ahead of Ringwood heading into this round. Admittedly, Ringwood's having a tough round, but all it takes is for Andrews to have another tough round himself. And it's right back there. And Phil McDougall, with all due respect to himself, he's currently 8th in the championship, so I think it's probably going to be Neil Andrews here unless he makes a mistake.
It won't be 8th anymore in the championship for Phil McDougall after this sort of round. He has absolutely blown everybody away by his pace at the moment. Out of the pits comes Billy Fletcher, followed by, just behind PJ Clyson's Keanu coming out of the pits. They're all in at the same time. Elmar Noteboom getting himself out of the way, miles ahead of Tom Metherell, who I think's got a 15-second stop and hold, and that's going to be a huge shame for him as he goes through, because that's Russell Barnes who's going to find a way by Tom Metherell, who will wait and wait and wait for his number to be called. Clyson's no worries at all in the stops, keeps the same margin ahead of Billy Fletcher, and Fletcher's gap to Begognon the same as well. Clyson's on course for 5 straight victories.
PJ Clyson's doing absolutely amazingly this year and this race as well. You very rarely see drivers taking 5 straight victories in any series. Interesting, I'm currently commentating 2 series where that's the case, but anyway, Clyson's running away with it at this point in time. It's a very Mercedes-esque performance in his Porsche. Mercedes, incidentally, I don't think they've ever made a GTE car, but anyway, that'd be cool.
Ooh,
Whatever
look
the
at this
case.
for the race lead.
Oh,
Look at McDougall having to negotiate the traffic. Bagognon needs to get past Gillis. Gillis was on the outside of the second Lesmo, slow into the gravel, and ultimately it was a case of almost having to Ryan Hunter-Ray the way through, almost 2 tyres on the grass to get by. McDougall is keeping himself there with Neil Andrews and is closing down 2/10 at a time every single lap. And that gap, again, looking like 1.7 seconds at the moment, looks like that could come down even further the longer that this race goes on, Caitlin.
it could do. I just wonder what's going through their mind at this point in time. I'm not sure if they expected to be in this position. I'm not sure if they've discussed being in this position. I'm not sure if they're discussing it right now. They could be in a call together.
1 second.
But, oh yeah, it's 1 second now. So, well, they really have to make their minds up quickly. Are there going to be team orders or aren't there going to be?
Well, there's 20 minutes remaining here in this race, so this is going to be a long challenge. Little wiggle there from McDougall that's going to cost him a couple of tenths there as he goes on through. So McDougall does well. Gillis is going to go straight on, though, at turn number 1. Let the traffic all just fly on by. And that's Morgan Thompson in to make his stop. He went a lap later than everybody else as he gets off of the jacks and goes on through car number 19, looking for the green cones down at the end. It's a long way to the green cones, a lot longer than what you would find normally. So there he finally gets himself going, and you can see the vehicles he's trying to race right now. There's Tom Mederall, and he is going to come out ahead of Mederall, who has dropped behind the likes of Ewan Marshall, who pitted incredibly early. It's not been a good day for Meraki Sim Racing, not at all, especially with PJ Kleiss as part of now the Alpine outfit at this moment in time at Alpine Sim Sports. He has proven with a team change that he has no worries at all. He is absolutely monstering.
Indeed, he is. Thompson now dropping back through the order. I was watching him earlier on. He had a little bit of damage to the front of the car. He's now used his fast repair. So if he's to have an accident, then he won't be able to use it again. But anyway, still running in the race. Sorry?
There has been a change of position. Benjamin Johnson has now fallen behind to Anthony Pisano. This one done into the Della Roggia here, Caitlin, on the brakes. An easy job, and it was pretty much a case of side-by-side on the brakes, but Pisano carrying a lot more speed thanks to the slipstream.
That's the most important thing at this circuit, of course. The slipstream very, very effective at the temple of speed, especially when you have cars which have so much aero as this. It's a welcome relief to have all of that air taken off your rear wing, all of that air pressure reduced. But anyway, gap between the leaders came out on that lap quite significantly. I reckon McDougall caught traffic pretty awkwardly. Same place. That is an awkward place to catch traffic. The slower cars, they don't want to get out of the way of you, and of course they're not obliged to either. But it does mean, of course, that you end up being held up a bit.
Well, this was the thing. Billy Fletcher was the car I got caught behind, and Billy caught the first curves, the anti-cut curves on the first part of Ascari, had a big wiggle, and then there was no way to go around the outside for the second and third part, so that's why the gap extended out to 2.6 seconds once again. But through all of this, Danny Henney is trying to claw anything he possibly can back. He took 2/10 out to the race leader. He's 8.8 seconds behind here in this race. I think he's going to be out of road here, Caitlin, to close it down, but maybe not to McDougall if McDougall continues to find traffic the same way.
Why does that always happen to McDougall, though? He's been so unlucky so far this race with the traffic. Seems to be really aiding Neil Andrews and holding up McDougall. But anyway, that's how traffic is sometimes. Traffic takers. Traffic givers. There, that's the tongue twister.
There's some words there, Caitlin.
You get what I'm trying to say, I hope. But anyway.
And the track takers to the way.
That is hard. Goodness me. Well, anyway. Whatever I was trying to say, it applies very much in this race. And it's like rolling a dice sometimes. You never know what it's going to do. But anyway, Andrews also, it's not been completely luck because he has been employing all of his experience to get past the traffic as quickly and cleanly as he possibly can, and he's been doing it very, very nicely so far. He's had to do that all season long, of course, as he's been, I think he's led more laps than anyone else as well, just from, I mean, that's mainly a guess, but I expect he has. If not, he's up there.
But Marshall, here comes
And
Marshall trying to find the move on Russell Barnes. This one going on for 5th and 6th in category at the moment in your GTE field. It's close, but not enough for Marshall to really get the move done. Marshall at the moment started 15th, is 15th. Russell Barnes, for example, in terms of the overall race, started 22nd, is now 14th here. And there's also other battles here out on track. Dan Merchant and Adam Dodd close together because Merchant is really struggling. I think he's got damage on his vehicle somewhere. It looks like it's floor. It's on the under tray of the vehicle as he's going through, because there JPW Ringwood's now up into 6th position thanks to that move, and now Adam Dodd wants 7th.
Adam Dodd going for 7th. He's on the back of Daniel Merchant. Merchant a little bit slower than him in qualifying and practice, and has been all over the course of the race as well. But Dodd, of course, has just been less consistent and made that mistake with the pit lane. But here he comes, has a better exit to the Ascaris. I'm pretty sure he pulled a move on Merchant earlier in that way by getting a good exit to the Ascaris. I know someone did. I can't remember if it was Dodd or not. But anyway, into the Parabolica they go, and I'd be surprised if Dodd doesn't get in this time around, because he's going to have a mega slipstream here down the start-finish straight, Jake.
Well, this is going to be all about the run, and Merchant got a very good Parabolica, but the draft claws itself in. If you talk about chevrons, it's 2 grid stalls as they go on forward, and now that gap closing. 289 against 300Ks now on the brake. So much later goes Dodd. Banzai down the inside. No way of stopping that one. One Martin Brundle said to Daniel Ricciardo you needed a Hubble telescope to predict that move, but that was a very bold move from Adam Dodd, and he has got the position up that he wants. He is now into 7th place overall in this one, and Marshall straight on at turn number 1. He had a spin, and it was contact, was it, on the brakes? No, he lost it all on his own. The rears just gave way for him.
Yeah, that's an easy place to do it when you have your brake balance. You want your brake balance as far back as you can handle, because that's what slows the car down. But in that situation, you just end up locking up and spinning the car around. He nosed into the wall as well, but I think got away with it pretty much. But anyway, has dropped behind. Actually, didn't lose a place in all of that, interestingly. But anyway, still running there in 6th position in class. I was going to say though about that move from Dodd. That was a Daniel Ricciardo-esque move, as he said, and also well done to Merchant for seeing it coming. He knew that it was more of a risk to defend than it was worth, and didn't put up too much of a fight. Just didn't turn in and cause an accident like some people would have inclined to do.
Well, it's actually closing now for the race victory here, ladies and gentlemen, with just 12 minutes and under, now 11 minutes looking towards 10 for Neil Andrews. He knows he's got himself about 7 or 8 laps left to go here in this race, but Phil McDougall took 6/10 out, 7/10 even, that last time by, and Andrews has got to keep that consistency value up, or McDougall is going to come straight back in terms of the way this race is going to go. Andrews has the pace, but I wonder if he's running maybe a little bit less on the wick at this point in time, trying to get himself home and dry. You got McDougall closing down that gap, and we'll see what the margin is when they cross the start-finish line, because for the moment, it seems like it's going one way, and that way is back to McDougall once again.
So, still, that question remains unanswered. What have been the instructions within the team? Is it going for championship points, I suppose, or is it going to let its drivers fight? I'm sure we're about to find out. Actually, maybe not, because it's now 3.2 seconds the gap. So maybe McDougall losing a bit of time on that last lap. 10 minutes to go. It's still doable for McDougall. He may need a mistake from Andrews. But anyway, still unanswered questions as we come into the last 10 minutes of this race. Whatever the case, it's been a fantastic drive from the CXR drivers, and now they've just got to bring it home.
Absolutely, and it's all about bringing it home from here. The gaps have just started to crawl out a little bit. PJ Clysons has himself a very commanding lead at this moment in time over Billy Fletcher, which looks to be around about 7 seconds here out on the track, if not a bit more to 8, 9, 10. So he's really, really motored in terms of this one. The GTE field has really spread out here over this one. Keanu Begognon in third, Elmar Open in fourth, Russell Barnes back there in fifth, Ewan Marshall currently in sixth position, still making good progress around the circuit right now. We'll see what the representative lap by Marshall this time by is across the line, because I'm wondering whether he is really down in terms of pace after that bit of contact. 47.1, that's a lot better. So it seems like all of these drivers have found themselves a little pocket of air at the moment here, Caitlin. It's all about bringing the car home and bringing that conversion of mind all the way to Le Mans. And how difficult is that Le Mans circuit going to be after a race like this here at Monza, which has proven to be that a lot of things have happened and there really isn't a form book after this.
And Le Mans, of course, one of the most difficult circuits as well. It's hard to find a rhythm. It's sort of stop-start in places, and as a result, you can very much misjudge things at literally the blink of an eye. You could blink at the wrong time, and why do you go? I know because I've done it. But anyway, this track, very good practice for Le Mans. Some similar features in it in terms of the chicanes, in terms of the long straight as well. Admittedly, nothing quite as long as any of the Mulsanne segments that the De La Salle circuit has. But anyway, it's going to be a real test of driver skill, a real test of driver mental stamina. Marshall spun.
Yes, he had a big moment. He went over the curbs at the De La Roggia there, the anti-cuts, hit the outside tyre wall and had to try and get himself through. That's allowed a position to go through, and in fact, one vehicle behind, I think very almost, had exactly the same thing happen, and that was Metherell. So it's the two Meraki cars that have gone around at the same corner at almost the same time.
Unlucky time for them, and indeed Metherell, well, he did it slightly better, didn't quite manage to make the barrier in that. It was a, maybe not quite a save from Metherell, but it was a good catch nonetheless. Yeah, Marshall there will be lucky if he didn't get a meatball flag for that. He didn't, which is good, but yeah, that's not his first accident today. And as you say, the Meraki cars struggling a little bit on this Monza circuit.
Well, this is something very interesting. Andrews, 38.5, trying to get by the traffic. McDougall goes through 37.7, and there's a 36.999 from Danny Henney. Suddenly, the top three here in your LMP2 division with 7 minutes to go is down under 6 seconds.
I don't think Henney's catching quite fast enough. He may be, especially if one of the drivers ahead of him makes a mistake. But of course, with just 7 minutes to go at the start of this lap, it's going to be really, really tough. And I'm not sure quite how his car's feeling at this point in time. Everyone's car feels different towards the end of the race. And yeah, there's been a problem with Pisano, and that looks like a disconnection, maybe.
It looks like so. I think he's hit 20 instant points. He's looked to come down on the lane, and when he goes and hits the brakes and goes for it, he's caught another penalty. And double compound, that's it, race over, Pisano done. And that will promote JPW Ringwood up into 5th place. So damage limitation is going to be there, and they're not teammates, but they're part of the same outfit here, JPW Ringwood and Benjamin Johnson. I wonder if a word's going to come in here to say, Ben, move over. JPW needs as many points as he can. 4th position, remember, it's 12 points in this championship. It's 25 plus most laps led, which gives you the next point, which Neil Andrews will comfortably get, 26, coming out of this race. So this is going to be tough. 37.9 this time by from Neil Andrews. McDougall flashes his lights, gains only a 1/10 of a second there. And just looking behind Danny Henney, 37.6. Gap down between him and McDougall is 3.2 seconds at the moment now, with 5 minutes to go and 2 vehicles in between here for Henney to try and negotiate by here as he heads towards the De La Roggia going through Curva Grande.
Here we go. First of the two will be Morgan Thompson in the BMW. Next up, another BMW of Kionis Gillis, and he's already past Thompson. Gillis now on the inside, and that was pretty easy. And in fact, Gillis might get passed by Thompson there in the process, and he does. Although that, of course, not for position, as Gillis had an incident earlier and was being lapped. Next up, of course, Phil McDougall. and we'll see what the gap is at the end of this lap. I still think it's too little too late from Danny Henny. He led the race earlier on, of course, then made that mistake, touched the wall and dropped back, and that was really the last chance he had of winning this race, unless something happens, because in front of him there's still over 5 minutes to go, but yeah, I'd say that's probably too little too late from Danny Henny.
Well, he's trying everything he can to get back in, but of course Danny Henny dropped the race lead early on with not having good enough pace, but the colder that the track's gone, remember it's dropped down a degree to 23 degrees right now because we're hitting these evening conditions. It's been all about, can you pick up one more around this place? And the answer has been very simply, no, that he hasn't just yet here at this time. McDougall's gap that he needs to chase down is stable now at 2.4 seconds out on track. And in terms of time remaining, there is 3 laps to go. So if anything is going to happen, it's going to require a mistake, you'd feel, in the final stages. Same for your GTE division. And what more can you say? Maybe not on overall pace. You could say PJ Clysons was the quickest man in this field today because you've got the likes of Keanu who's done well. Billy Fletcher's had a great turn of pace. But PJ Clysons has just slowly picked them apart, not had any mistakes as per usual, and has just walked away from the field once again.
PJ Clysons has been unstoppable this year, and as good a job as Billy Fletcher's done trying to keep up with him, he's going to need to do harder than that, or anyone's going to have to do harder than that if they're going to beat PJ Clysons at all this season. Le Mans going to be a tough one, and there's a lot of slipstreaming available, so I think it's definitely possible to beat PJ Clysons, but today and most other days, he's just been in a class of his own. It's almost like there are 3 classes in this field. You've got LMP2s, followed by PJ Clysons, followed by GTEs, and Clysons has been demonstrating that again today. I don't think it's going to be quite as big a win as some of his others, but it doesn't matter whether you win by a second or a tenth of a second or 10 seconds. It really doesn't, because you still get max points. So PJ Clysons there doing everything he needs to, and this championship looks as if it's going to be over pretty quickly in the GTE category.
Looks like it at this point. Gap comes down between Henny and McDougall. At this point, down to 1.9 seconds with 2 laps to go. Here at Monza, as they go through, 2 minutes remaining on the clock. As they go on through, Danny Henny is trying to get seconds here. He did a 36.9, trying to chase it down. He was a second quicker than the race leader as well. You've also got this one starting to close right now. JPW Ringwood and Benjamin Johnson for 4th and 5th place here. They're 40 seconds off of the race lead. But at the moment, Ringwood would so love that one more position. Ben Johnson's not going to let him have it easy, I don't feel. But at the moment, it seems like it's not over for 2nd and 3rd. It's not over for 4th and 5th. 4th and 5th gap, a second and a half at this moment in time with 2 laps to go. And the difference there, Caitlin, as they went on through, was 2/10 only for JPW Ringwood. He needs more.
Ringwood is very popular on YouTube at the minute, and they'll be cheering him on as he chases down Ben Johnson, I'm sure. Johnson does appear to be dropping back a little bit, but maybe not quick enough unless he decides at the last minute to move over. There's going to be one more lap after this one, I expect. Yeah. And this is over 4th position. Andrews, of course, will come away as the championship leader if they finish as they are. And even if Ringwood passes Johnson, he will still it will still be Andrews leading the championship at the end of this round.
Yeah,
but,
it certainly will. Absolutely it will. Last lap comes along then for Neil Andrews here, who holds himself a 1.5 second margin here as Phil McDougall's got the hurry up message with Danny Henny just behind. Will there be mistakes from the front 3 if they continue to run into troubles? Andrews lost a whole second here to McDougall on that last lap, so this could really close back down if they're not too careful here. The battle going on, 4th and 5th in category, is now nose to tail. Ringwood has closed up to what he needs, moves to the inside, and that you felt was a little bit too easy, you'd feel. Maybe there was a team order that came in. Ben Johnson giving it to JPW Ringwood, but may come straight back here on the straight. Looks to tuck into the draft and try and get as close as possible, but ultimately is staying behind at the moment. Can he get the move into turn number 1. At this moment in time, the Retafilo calls, but it is very, very clearly Ringwood who's found himself a way through there. No changes of position at the moment here going on in this category between Andrews, McDougall and Henny at the moment, as those who are fighting in your your GTE category will go on to their final laps of the race. One corner remains though for Neil Andrews, who staves off the late charges by Henny and McDougall. He'd stayed the most consistent, yet a mistake at turn number 5 out on track, the opening Lesmo corner, but he has fought so hard to recover from that, and it's a victory that he will savour as he picks up his 3rd win of the season, and he will win with a fantastic 1-2 finish between himself and McDougall. Danny Henny will come home for 3rd position overall, and then what's going on for 4th and 5th. Ben Johnson falls behind JPW Ringwood, whose damage limitation after an incident at the 2nd Lesmo corner now here, Caitlin, brings back the championship close as PJ Clysons now makes his way towards that 1st Lesmo corner.
That was absolutely wonderful there from CXR. They crossed the line almost in formation, in team formation there, almost side by side. 7/10 of a second was the winning margin in the end. And Danny Henny chased them home 2 seconds behind. So that was the LMP2 field. Now we await the GTE leader. He's got a Scary to go, and then the Parabolica. PJ Clysons, as I've been saying, has been absolutely untouched today. Untouchable as always. And really, I don't see any stopping him in terms of this championship. He's almost like a bulldozer, one that happens to have a lot more power, a lot more speed, a lot more aerodynamics. But anyway, through the final corner comes PJ Clysons, and he is going to win in his Porsche at the Monza circuit. Flashes his lights. He is very, very happy. And across the line in P1 again goes PJ Clysons. That's 5 from 5. Billy Fletcher. It's going to be Keanu Begonjon in 3rd position as he comes through to finish. Of course, took pole position, but had that incident in the early stages and had to really fight back through again. And there's been a oh no, never mind. That's just Noteboom celebrating with donuts because he has already finished the race. So in terms of the order, we'll start with the LMP2s. It was Andrew winning.
Yeah.
7/10 per second from McDougall, Henny, Ringwood, Johnson, Dodd, Merchant, and Carter, and then the GTEs.
A lot of retirements in your LMP2 division. Anthony Pisano, Josh Johnson, and Tony Baird, the retirees. PJ Clysons picking up the win, walking away with it again by 10th over Billy Fletcher. The gap extending out over 8 seconds come the end there. The Ford doing a great job with the pace disadvantage to get 2nd place. Keanu Begonjon picking up a podium here, 3rd position after issues early on. Elmar Noteboom comes home with 4th, with Russell Barnes in 5th in category. Morgan Thompson picks up 6th in category overall. That's a nice flower down there by Phil McDougall. He's done a brilliant flower there. I would call that art. Now, all you need to do is a nice bit of 11Zs, and now, the flower's ruined. Oh, that's a shame. Ewan Marshall comes home 7th with Tom Metherell in 8th. Jonas Gillis picks up 9th overall. 4 laps down to the last finisher out of everyone. In terms of retirements in your GTE field, Steve Hobbs, Dion Phillips, and Matish Van Delden, the drivers who did not get that one home over the line after results were scored. However, it is very, very quick to note that drivers are here and ready and awaiting interviews at this point in time. We've stolen Neil Andrews away once again. Neil, that was a race you really had to work hard for. The incident at the 1st Lesmo really cost you in terms of position in that race, but you had to work hard, fight back, and then all of a sudden, it was a case of fending off your teammate.
Yeah, that was a bit weird, the start of that race. I don't think any of us really wanted to win that race. I mean, I dropped it at the 1st Lesmos. I think the guy that was, I think JPW did something. I think he had to clear a black flag, he was saying. So that was a bit weird. And then someone else dropped it in the 2nd chicane. Yeah, that was quite hard. I was strategizing with the teammate, really, because I could see that someone was gaining from him in third place. So I was trying to keep him in the draft to keep the tow going for him so he could keep up.
So a bit of teamwork there, trying to keep himself in a bit of an order. So a very big team performance. And in terms of what you needed out of this race here today, you knew you had only a 2-point lead coming into the championship. Just how important was that race, getting to a race victory like this and knowing that the halfway stage in the championship comes next round in 4 weeks' time, and you are pretty much poising yourself for pretty much a case of fending off the challengers behind you?
Well, it was an important race, definitely. I wasn't too confident at Monza. It's not one of my favourite circuits. So when I put it on pole, I was quite surprised. And then the incidents that happened in the race, it sort of played into my hands, and just had to keep it on the track and bring it back. So it's very important. And I don't know where JPW finished, but he was out of the top 3. So there was a few points gains for myself there. So yes, very good result.
We can confirm that he finished in 4th position overall. So you take what is going to be 15-point lead now heading to Le Mans. Very similar characteristics here, Le Mans compared to Monza. So I guess an evolution on the setup, an evolution on the work that you've done this month.
Yeah, definitely. Just we've got ILMS coming. That's at Le Mans as well. So we'll do some practice at the ILMS official racing, ready for in a month's time for the Venomworks midway race, really. Yes.
So before we let you go here, Neil, a big race victory, your 3rd of the season. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, just a shout out to the whole team. We're a works team, so CXR Project Black. Shout out to all the team members. We've got different drivers. Everybody works on setup. So yeah, big shout out to everybody there.
Neil Andrews then, a massive race victory in terms of the championship. Danny Henney came home 3rd in your LMP2 category, stood by with Caitlin Penny.
Oh, sorry. Well, Danny Henney. Okay, my apologies. Yeah, so you ended up 3rd in that race in the LMP2 category, and I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, I think that's your first podium of the year. How does it feel?
No, unfortunately, it's my 3rd.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Pretty good, yeah. I've had a 3rd at Canada and a 3rd at Brazil. So, yeah, it was good. It was a good race. I'm a bit disappointed because I made a silly mistake in the lead and put it in the wall and got damaged. But after the pit stop and the damage was repaired, yeah, I was dropping the hammer trying to chase the guys up front.
That was the first time you've led a race this year, though, right? Or am I being completely wrong?
No, I led Brazil.
Oh, bother. My apologies. Anyway, you did a really, really good job in the end. How did the car feel, and how was the traffic, and yeah.
It was difficult, I must admit. I've been struggling with setup probably the last couple of weeks to nail one. I dropped a little bit of camber on the front before the race, which seemed to work for me. And it was actually okay then. It weren't going too bad when I got into the lead, and I just got a bit nervous, if I'm honest. Made a silly mistake, put it in the wall, and then it was on the way back. But traffic was very difficult. The GTE cars were very hard to pass. Trying to pick the right moment to get through was difficult. But yeah, overall, very fun.
So a very, very good job to finish P3. What are your plans and goals for the second part of the series?
I'm unsure, really. I've got to have a look at the points. I'm not sure if I've got a shot at getting 3rd place in the championship, but that'd be pretty nice for saying I missed 2 rounds. But other than that, just try and get a win in the race, really. I don't seem to be too far away. The guys at Venomworks are brilliant. So yeah, have fun, drive as fast as I can, and hopefully sneak that 3rd place in the championship.
Well, great job, and good luck in your future races.
Thank you very much.
So that was Danny Henney there, coming home with a 3rd place finish. 2nd position in your GTE category was Billy Fletcher. Now, Billy, it was a race which had to be fought hard for pretty early, especially being a little bit disadvantaged by the balance of performance with the Ford. So in terms of trying to work a way back through that field, was it a case of death by tenths of a second when it came to your battle with PJ Clysons?
Yeah, pretty much. That guy is a robot. I think when I come out from the incident with Keanu through Iscari, he was 3 seconds ahead of me, and I managed to put it back to 2 seconds, but then I got collared twice by HBDs in the Lesmos, and I think he had 6 seconds on me after the two little run-ins with the HBDs, and as I said, he's too good to get that much of a gap on you. You can't let him get that far away, otherwise he's gone.
Well, it was tough work for you over the course of the racing here today, but it has been a good learning process. You spent a lot of time in second position. A lot of drivers out there who had that opportunity here today to really put some points behind you for second in the championship didn't manage to get the results that they needed. So in terms of looking to secure that second place, you pull out and extend that gap in terms of the championship for you. So now you look over towards a place like Le Mans. Does that look like maybe more of the same with the PJ Clyson show, or are you really hoping that the Ford finds something, or you find something in the Ford that's really going to back up and maybe change the narrative heading towards the second half of the season?
Where I seemed to be strong against PJ was the slower stuff, so through the first two chicanes and through the Lesmos, I seemed to be able to put a gap back on him, and then through Ascari, he would pull a tenth or two back on me every single time. So I am hoping, even though we have obviously got some very fast sections at Le Mans, that Dan obviously the more Simon the two chicanes, that if I can obviously stick in the draft, get in that draft, I'll do my best to keep him honest, and I'm hoping with the car strength in the chicanes that I can try and stop this little domination of him, because at times this season I felt like I've had the pace of him to beat him, but I've not been in the right place. I've made my own errors, and as I said previously, you can't make errors around PJ. Once he's checked out, he's checked out, and you're in trouble.
So it's all about then putting together the one big race result. So Billy, before we let you go, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Big thanks to Rob Pearson, Luxim24, Paul Gordon, Sim Stickers, Draper Tools, all the guys that help run this series, obviously, Venomworks guys, legends. Great series they've put on, and I'm looking forward to the next round.
Well, no worries at all. Billy Fletcher there, coming home second position in his category. Very quickly, we'll get JPW Ringwood in for a bit of a word. He finished fourth today, but Jake, you know, this was a tough race for you. You needed points in the championship. You were only 2 behind. This was the time to manifest destiny in Siege Initiative, and ultimately, mistake lap 1, and then mistake a little bit later on, right in front of Pisano.
Yeah. I'm allowed to swear on this stream.
No, you're not.
No, that was a nightmare. I just couldn't compose myself the whole evening, unfortunately. Qualifying went well, considering I'd been about a second and a half off all practice. But that lap 2 into turn 1, I was actually clearing a black flag for Matisse. So that was the explanation for that. But I just couldn't compose myself after that. So not too good.
Well, a case of doing a million different things at once, that didn't really help in terms of the results. But in terms of drivers, though, in the late stages of the race, the pit stop really helped with the one fast repair available to you. And then right towards the end, that move on Benjamin Johnson picking you up 4th position. Was that coordinated between you two, despite not being in the same team?
No, no, he'd never let me past. He was low on fuel. He pit a lap earlier than me. And I think his crew chief sort of screwed him over a little bit, and he had to save fuel to the end. So
a result that's gone begging. You now find yourself from 2 points back to 15 points back. You look at Le Mans, it's very similar in terms of the way that this is going to run for you. So now here becomes the question, Jake. Is this going to be a case of now just trying to make sure that you keep yourself within one race distance, so to speak, in terms of points compared to Neil Andrews? Or are you really looking now to try and claw that gap back down? And knowing the pace that you have had at the start of the season, is this maybe the case here where we're saying, okay, now's the time where you really need to buck your rack?
Well, I think, to be fair, Neil has had the edge on me all season. I've been lucky to sort of stay in it, but yeah, I think it's just a case of just trying to keep him at arm's reach. Hopefully, he gets a little bit of bad luck. I hate to say it, but you know, the selfish side of me wants him to have a little bit of bad luck at some point, and just try and pin him somehow.
So JPW Ringwood there, coming home with a 4th place finish come the end. And of course, in 4 weeks' time, we'll be heading over to Le Mans for the halfway stage of the season. Yes, we do have a little announcement here at Forever Sim Racing, and that is that the second half of the season is going to be forever, just like the first. So you will have a full entire season of your Venomworks Sportscar Championship live and uninterrupted here on the Forever Sim Racing YouTube channel. And of course, if you are here on the Forever Sim Racing YouTube channel and you're watching this for the first time, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe right now, this very second, and make sure that you love everything that's going on here with Forever Sim Racing content. But of course, a massive thanks has to go to those who have helped us out in the broadcast. First and foremost, to Violet, the music that you'll be hearing sometime in the next few seconds or so, which has been absolutely fantastic. Her album, Queen of Misfits, is out now on Bandcamp and Spotify, and she's now looking over at Super Pony World, so make sure you check out her fantastic music. From Marco Barbanera, who's been on the cameras, provided by Dougie Beard. From Caitlin Penny, who's been alongside me, I've been Jake Sperry. The story remains the same, though, at the top of the championship for PJ Clysons. 5 from 5. Nobody can stop him at the moment. He's got 2 races in the back pocket where a non-points finish will still have him the lead overall. It's going to be a tall order if anyone's going to catch him down. But crucial gains for Neil Andrews. A 1-2 finish for CXR Project Black. And they know what they need to do. They head to one of the most famous tracks in all of endurance, that one being Le Mans. And of course, at Le Mans, sometimes a Le Mans victory is worth just that little bit more. We'll see you for a crown jewel at the halfway stage of the championship in just 4 weeks' time. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we all are forever.